I just got done talking about Chimaev, Gilbert Burns, and I'm putting the anti-campaign on it. I don't want that to gain any steam. I need your guys' help. But when I got done, my partner Ryan says to me, hey, Chael, I just read another thing on Chimaev. Now, it was Chimaev responding to Luque. I love this stuff. I love this kind of stuff. I don't like any fighter who believes his only commodity is the performance. I like a fighter who sees the big picture, that realizes he's going to perform 3 times a year for 15 minutes or less. But there's 365 days in a year, and if you're not out there getting yours in terms of headline, if you're not competing for photo shoots, if you're not competing for attention, if you're not competing in t-shirt sales, you're not part of it. You're not the right part of it. You're looking at this all wrong. I will see many guys say, well, I don't like to talk. I just let my fighting do it for me. Well, your fighting is going to be 3 times a year for a maximum of 15 minutes. And if you get all 15 minutes, you've got 45 minutes. And not to mention, there's some kind of a culture within our sport that if you don't get a finish, you're a boring guy, and that's not good anyway. So now you're either the maximum 45 minutes in a 365-day year, or you're less than 45 minutes doing everything right in a 365-day a year. And you will have a place. There's 556 guys that got a contract to be professional fighters between Bellator and the UFC combined. Less than 50 of those guys are stars. Do you see the difference? But the stars do have a lot of commonalities. And that's something that you always want to do when you're observing. Go find yourself 10 champions. But then break down, what do these 10 champions do? Then after you've written that down and identified it, go see what the commonalities are. They all go to practice twice a day, every day. They all work on their hands, and they work on their grappling over here. They all run this many miles. Whatever it might be, whatever those buzzwords are of hard work and dedication and sacrifice, whatever those buzzwords are that your 10 champions you identify all have, those are the things that you got to do. Right? You'll hear coaches tell that to athletes. I'm a coach. I tell it to my athletes. You've got to do this. Well, where I come up with what I've identified as things that you have to do are the commonalities between the 10 champions that I've studied. That's it. And the stars will have commonalities. And the first thing is they don't take a damn day off. They are working nonstop, whether it's in the gym, whether it's on social media. I got a friend named Sunshine, okay? Sunshine was 25 years old and had this big goal that he's going to be a professional fighter, which means he needs to either get signed by the UFC or he needs to get signed by Bellator. He had 7 amateur fights. He had never been put on television. But Sunshine had a schedule, and it was written down. And he led his life and ran his career like an absolute CEO. Every morning at 8 a.m., here's what I'm going to do until 10. From 10 to noon, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back into the gym and work on my boxing at 1 o'clock until 3 o'clock. But he had all written down. And one of the things that he had on that list, and he went by it every single day, and he used to bring his food. He was one of these guys, right? Real dedicated, real into nutrition. He'd make his own meals. He'd pack it. He got this many grams of protein and this many carbs. He was one of these guys. But the one thing, that's all good and fine. I'm not going to talk to you guys about it. The one thing that he had on that list that I appreciated was every single night at 9 p.m., he would go from 9 p.m. to midnight every night and never miss. He would scour the internet. He would find promotions, and he would seek out their matchmakers, all of them. And he would go around the world. He would spend 3 hours a day, every day, sending emails. Every day, sending emails. Hey, here's who I am. Here's what I want to do. And he would circle back through. If he couldn't find new ones, he would go to the same ones. Every single night, he put 3 hours into finding himself a job. Sure enough, with 7 amateur fights, he signs with Bellator. His last fight in Bellator, he fought AJ Agazarm and won. So it's just one of these things that worked. And I remember being at the gym. We had plenty of other guys in that weight class, and some of them were damn good. And there was a real jealousy when Sunshine was able to get these opportunities. But you have the 2 schools of thought. What do I need to do to get that phone call? What do I need to do? What more do I have to do till I finally get that phone call? Or you can have the other school of thought, which is the one I subscribe to. Make the goddamn phone call. Don't wait for your phone to ring. Pick it up and call them. It's one of the things that Sunshine did so well. So it's something, when I tell you that I like that Luque and Khamzat Chimaev are having this back and forth, I need that. The punches and the kicks will only get my attention so far. I need to know why we're here. I need to know what built us into this. I need to know the story. I need to know why this matters. If it doesn't matter to you, if you're saying, I'll just fight I don't care who my next opponent is. If you don't care who your next opponent is, I sure as hell can't care. It wouldn't be possible. And a lot of guys aren't cared about. And the years go by and the sacrifice was put in, the hard work was put in. They've got the injuries, they got all the scars, they got everything that everybody else has, but nobody remembered they were gone or that they were there in the first place. And if that's what you want to be you, believe me, there's 500 other guys that you can be one of them. You just can't be at the top of the bill. And if you're not out there competing every day for co-main event and main event status, you're in the wrong spot. And if you have managers who have never sat you down to a creative meeting and figured out how you're going to get to co-main and main spot, you got the wrong managers. And I'm sure the thousands of fighters and aspiring fighters that listen to me every single day, most of you just, oh my God, that's me. If you have never sat down at a one-on-one meeting and strategically and creatively put a plan together to get yourself into co-main and main status, you have bad managers. Now, Chimaev said something beautiful. It was great. Chimaev was going back and forth with Luque. And to remind you guys, Luque went first. Luque went first and said, you know, Chimaev, you're saying everybody's scared of you and you're calling a lot of guys out, but you never said my name. I like that. I like that by Luque. I got big hopes for Luque, though. Let me disclose that to you now. I got a little bit of a biasness towards this guy. This guy's warmed me up. His fight with Chiesa put him over the top with me. I train with Chiesa. I know how damn good Chiesa is. I saw something there, something special from Luque. Hold that thought, okay? Chimaev wrote back. It's all on social media, Twitter. Chimaev says, when I say I will fight you all, that means you all. I don't need to say your name specifically. I will fight you all. One after the next after the next. So let me make it clear, Luque, you two, something along these lines. He then declares himself the BMF champion. I am the BMF champion and I am the UFC champion. He declared it. I love that. I love it. There was a great fight. It was one of the great marketing pieces ever in MMA. Justin Gaethje versus Eddie Alvarez. Now, that's a dream fight. That is a super fight to the highest degree. You got Gaethje coming. Think about the time. You got Gaethje coming up through it. He's the World Series fighting champion, gets brought over to the UFC. It's a beautiful debut. You got Eddie Alvarez, who's winning every damn championship you can. Are you guys even aware of how good Eddie Alvarez is? Eddie Alvarez has won every belt that they offer except for the ONE FC title, and he's pursuing that right now. This is the Bellator champion. This is the Strikeforce champion. This is the UFC champion. He's won it all. These guys are going to fight. The timing of this fight, when I tell you it was a super fight, it was wonderful. And they were going to fight for the title of the UFC's most violent man. I found out 8 days before the bell rang that Eddie Alvarez had made that up. I thought that the promotion put it out. I thought that Dana White and company declared these two are going to fight, and the winner comes out the UFC's most violent man. That is how they will be known. Remember when Ken Shamrock did that world's most dangerous man, by example? Or even when we finally had the belt for BMF? But the promotion did do that. I thought the promotion did that fight with the caveat, title, UFC's most violent man goes to that fight. And by the way, it was amongst the most violent fights ever in the UFC. It fit the bill. It was perfect. But I found out just over a week before bell time that Eddie created that. That's how good Eddie did with it. And it made perfect sense. The reason I had no idea this was Eddie or Gaethje, as soon as Eddie said it, boom, Gaethje agreed to it. As soon as they agree, John Anik signs off on it and starts telling the world. Rogan makes a comment on it. Nobody said no. I loved the whole thing, and it made sense. It was realistic. It wasn't silly. I maintain the same thing for you for the BMF belt. I am begging. If a genie pops out of the ball, Chael, you get 3 wishes in MMA. One of my wishes are going to be that we resurrect and continue on a lineage with the BMF title. Because not all of these guys are BMFs, and they'll tell you, some of them are good athletes. Some of them are fighters. Some of them are both. But a BMF also represents a level of courage. The baddest dude's not backing down. We got a lot of guys that are backing down. A lot of them. This is not the place you come to be scared. If that's within you and that's a part of your life, even if it's true, you've got to hide it. You got to fake it till you make it. You got to deny it. There's an image and a way that you have to live and pursue your life. And a lot of guys are getting away with it fully admitting, I'm scared. I don't want to do it. It's off brand. This doesn't work for me. I don't like the strategy. It doesn't make sense. It's not up for you to figure out what makes sense. When you get a phone call from a second office in the UFC, an LLC corporation located in Nevada, have you heard of it? That's when you know it makes sense. When somebody in that position who is paid to make sure things make sense tells you this makes sense, There's no more thought that needs to be put into it, in all fairness. And it used to be that way. And I remember when we first started having cowards in the sport, I remember thinking, man, this isn't going to work. These guys are going to get ran out. Not just by the promotion, not just by you, the fans and the media. We will run their asses right out of this locker room. We will make sure they get a pink slip and somebody who's actually hungry like the rest of us and is ready to work while hurt gets that job. It never happened. You fans gobbled it up. Maybe it was relatable. I don't know. I just remember being stunned when guys could sidestep opponents. Back when I was fighting guys, first started fighting, there was only 6 shows a year. If you could get a match, oh my goodness. And if you came through the UFC and you're back on the regional scene and a promoter could put a UFC veteran, if he could just put those words on a poster, you were going to make a pile of money and that whatever arena he had was going to be full. It was a very coveted thing. And back in that time, if you had coward in you, you weren't fighting for these 3 little letters. Now it's not the case. It's the norm. It's been a surprise to me. In all fairness, it's been a big surprise to me. So then when you have guys that live by this code, anyone, anywhere, anytime, you must live by that code. Otherwise, you're a bully. This is how I see it. Chael's rule. But there was never a day where there was somebody I wouldn't compete with. Because if that day came where I wouldn't compete with someone, I won't compete with anyone. The reasoning being, now I'm a bully. If there's anybody that can back me down, I'm not going to go fight anyone. I got to be willing to fight them all. I couldn't hold my head high. I couldn't be who I was. I would have lost my identity. And there was some other boys like me. We're long gone. And now we've got this scaredy cat group that wants to hang their hat on what makes sense, what's on brand. I mean, let me just stop you right there. If at any time at the end of this speech, your answer is no about going to work and doing a job that you swore up, down, and sideways to your team and to the media and to your promoters, you would do anything to have. If at any point the answer is no, stop right there. I don't care what your reasoning is. I still got to work. I got to get home too. And I got to make this match first. I need to find somebody that's not a chicken. If I'd have known that about you from Jump Street, I wanted to sign you in the first place. But here I am stuck. So let me put the phone down now. You say whatever it is you need to get off your chest so that you can sleep tonight and think that you somehow are being a good businessman. I'm just being a good businessman out here making good decisions. You're a chicken is what you are. Go to sleep and know who you are. The rest of us will move this thing forward like we have from the jump. Chimaev fits the bill of a BMF. Chimaev is now claiming he's the BMF champion. I liked it when Sean O'Malley claimed that he's the champion of the unranked. I thought that was beautiful. And I think it works because could you tell me someone that you think is better than Sean O'Malley who's not ranked? Go ahead, take a moment. Go to any weight class you want. Do you have anybody that pops in mind that you believe is as good as Sean O'Malley who doesn't have a ranking? No, you don't. It made sense. He is the unranked champion. And Khamzat Chimaev just might be the BMF. But there's some other rough dudes out there. Speaking of the real BMF, named George Masvidal. Now, George gets a full pass right now. He's hurt. Our only wishes and comments to George, get well soon. Take care of yourself. But George Masvidal is another one of these boys. When that phone rings, he's not bitching out for any reason, including if he's got a beating waiting for him. He will walk out there and take his beating. That's the sport we're in. But when he goes to bed at night, he knows who he is. He knows he's not a bully. He knows he will do the heavy lifting. He knows that he was a company man. He knows that he was honest with the organization in the first place when he called up and said, give me an opportunity. This is all I want to do with my life. I'm not suggesting for you Masvidal takes a beating from Khamzat or anybody else. What I'm suggesting for you is there's a code, and very few follow it.